You ever have one of those mornings where you wake up, pour a cup of coffee that tastes like it was filtered through an old sock and think, surely, today won't be weird, then a goddamn helicopter drops a medieval turret into your neighbor's yard. Yeah, that was Tuesday. I was standing in my kitchen, still in uniform pants but no shirt, hair halfway between cop and mental breakdown, when the chopper buzzed in low over Oak Valley Lane. My autistic daughter Junie sat at the kitchen table with her headphones on, tapping her fingers in rhythm to some YouTube math song about triangles. She's 8, brilliant, and blissfully unaware of the HOA warfare that has been plaguing this suburban hellscape for the last 6 months. I opened the back door just in time to watch the inflatable turret land in Karen's front yard. Right on. Top of her husband's freshly mowed grass, or maybe it's her ex-husband, honestly. No one knows if Ted is alive or just buried under the fire pit she built without permits. The turret deflated slightly on one side. Didn't matter. Karen strutted out in her pink velour tracksuit like she was claiming victory at the Battle of Suburban Waterloo. She had the nerve to wave at me. I waved back, with my middle finger. Let me back up for the uninitiated. Karen, full name Karen Elizabeth Morton Smith Delaney, is our HOA president, dictator, petty tyrant, and a unchallenged queen of overreacting to anything with color or joy. She's fined people for lawn chairs that looked too whimsical, for having Halloween decorations up past November 2nd, and once threatened to sue a 6-year-old for selling lemonade on a non-designated lemonade weekend. You think I'm kidding? Our mailbox got flagged for excessive individuality because Junie painted it blue with yellow stars. That was 2 weeks before Karen held a vote to ban unlicensed sidewalk chalk activity. And before you ask, no, she doesn't work for the government. Karen is a dental hygienist with a passion for bylaws and a God complex. She prints out HOA rules like they're holy scripture and passes them around in plastic sheet protectors. The woman weaponizes printer ink. So this morning, when she had a whole medieval-themed watchtower airlifted into her yard because she needed a better view of community violations, I shouldn't have been surprised. But I was. Oh, hell no, I muttered, walking out barefoot across my lawn to get a better look. That's when Junie stepped outside, earbuds still in, to get the mail. She has a rhythm to things. Every day at 8:07 a.m., she walks to the mailbox with her frog print slippers, humming quietly to herself. It's her moment of calm, her ritual. Karen was out there adjusting the banner across the turret. See something, say something, HOA Security Hub, in all caps vinyl. She caught Junie in her peripheral vision, and then it happened. Karen turned, wagged her fingers at her and said, "No loitering," like my kid was some kind of loitering goblin. Junie, who doesn't always pick up on tone or sarcasm, just blinked at her and kept walking. Didn't say a word. Karen marched right up and smacked the mail out of Junie's hand, and then slapped her. Not hard, but hard enough that Junie froze. Hard enough that I froze. It was one of those moments where the world goes absolutely silent. No birds, no lawnmowers, just static rage filling my head like a TV tuned to the wrong channel. I don't even remember walking across the street. I was just suddenly there, between my daughter and Karen, with a calmness that only comes from 20 years on the force, and a deep, abiding hatred of suburban fascists. Touch my daughter again, I said, and you're gonna find out how quickly an HOA rulebook burns. Karen sniffed. She was trespassing. This is a protected zone now. This is your front yard. It's a security perimeter. She's 8. She was staring aggressively. She's autistic. Karen's lips twisted like someone had just whispered the word taxes during a spa day. I didn't know. You do now. Behind me, Junie picked up her mail off the grass, completely unfazed. She doesn't process confrontation the same way other kids do. That's part of her magic and part of my rage. I turned back to Karen, looked her dead in her Botox-frozen eyes, and said, "If you so much as breathe wrong around my daughter again, I'll have the city so far up your turret, they'll be giving citations to your attic insulation." She scoffed. "You don't scare me. I know my rights." "I know them too," I smiled. "In fact, I enforce them." Karen blinked. "Wait, what do you do?" I leaned in close, dropped my voice a notch, and whispered, "I'm the fucking chief of police." And just like that, the turret deflated 2 inches from pure tension. I took Junie's hand and walked back across the street. The neighborhood watched from behind curtains and hedges. The war had officially begun. You'd think after slapping a child, my child, Karen would lay low for a bit. Maybe issue one of those non-apology apologies like, "I'm sorry if anyone was offended while I enforced the community standards with my open palm." Nope. By 6 a.m. the next morning, she'd stapled flyers to every neighborhood mailbox, red text, all caps, Comic Sans, like a war crime in font form, HOA security, alert. Yesterday, a minor incident occurred due to unclear personal boundaries and behavior outside community norms. Please remain vigilant. The HOA is implementing additional security protocols. Unclear personal boundaries? I didn't know whether to punch drywall or frame it. I found Junie in the kitchen that morning eating cereal with ketchup. No, I don't understand it either. She looked up and asked, "Is Karen in jail yet?" "Not yet, sweet pea," I said, "but we're working on it." It wasn't just us. The neighborhood was starting to turn. At first, it was small things. Someone planted rainbow pinwheels on Karen's lawn. A mystery person installed a "No Turrets Beyond This Point" sign in her flower bed. Someone graffitied Drama Queen's castle on the sidewalk with biodegradable chalk. Karen, naturally, responded with nuclear overkill. She sent out 3 new HOA violation letters in one day. One of them fined Mr. Alvarez for excessively reflective garden gnomes. The man's a retired mechanic. They were chrome because that's what he had. That's when the rebellion officially started. The cast of HOA Misfits TM, Frank Rebel Dad Morris, ex-Marine, now runs a home gym where he screams at neighbors to squat deeper or get off the lawn. Once deep-fried a turkey using gasoline. Owns exactly one shirt. It says, "Freedom ain't gonna lift itself." Grandma Ruth, HOA loyalist turned wild card, bakes cookies shaped like gavels, thinks she's the moral compass of the street. Wields passive aggression like a damn katana. Her catchphrase, "Bless her heart, but she's got Satan's Wi-Fi." Ms. Patel, former NASA engineer, moved here for peace and hummingbirds, now runs a burner Twitter account called Karen Surveillance, posts screenshots of every HOA message. Anonymous but feared. The Wongs never speak, ever. But somehow they're always in the background, sipping boba tea and watching with quiet judgment. Back to Karen. The day after the flyers, she installed a temporary security checkpoint in front of her driveway. It was literally 2 lawn chairs, yellow tape, and a teenage cousin in a fake TSA shirt. She offered neighborhood kids $10 to report suspicious foot traffic. I walked Junie past it with a death glare that could melt steel. Karen called after me, "Just doing my part to keep our streets safe." I didn't turn around. "You slapped a 3rd grader, Karen," Junie whispered. "You want me to flip her off?" "No," I said. "Wait till she's looking." That afternoon, we got a friendly courtesy letter from the HOA saying Junie's chalk art constituted graffiti in a public-facing space. She'd drawn a smiley face. A literal smiley face. I stared at the letter for a full 5 minutes, brain buffering like a dial-up modem from 2002. Then I poured a whiskey into a coffee cup and began my next move. The evidence file begins. I dusted off my old body cam and pointed it at my window. Installed a ring cam facing Karen's house. I wasn't just a dad anymore, I was building a goddamn case file. I logged timestamps, some 52 a.m. Karen yells at Ms. Patel's husband for his slightly rebellious lawn edging. 4 a.m. Karen sniffs Junie's chalk like it contains meth. 3:12 p.m. Karen slaps a violation on Rebel Dad's mailbox for overly masculine signage. It just said, "No soliciting unless you're selling ribs." By the end of the day, I had enough footage for a reality show. Karen versus the Constitution. Meanwhile, the neighborhood began shifting in subtle, beautiful ways. Wind chimes got louder. Yard flamingos multiplied like pink rabbits. Someone mounted a disco ball in a tree. I walked outside one evening and found Frank lifting weights shirtless in his driveway while blasting the Star-Spangled Banner. His American flag shorts were barely legal. He caught my eye, nodded once, and muttered, "For Junie." It was touching? In a disturbing way. Even Grandma Ruth cracked. She showed up at my door holding a tin of cookies shaped like Karen's turret. "I don't agree with her methods," she said sweetly, "but I wouldn't be mad if her shingles flew off during a light breeze." I accepted the cookies and gave her a fist bump. The real turning point came 2 nights later. Karen's HOA emergency community briefing was in full swing in her driveway, complete with lawn chairs, laminated talking points, and a slide deck projected on her garage door. I stood at the edge of the crowd in full uniform. Not because I was on duty, because I wanted her to see the badge. "Now," Karen said, pointer in hand, "we must enforce unity. There's been too much chaos, too much non-regulation chalking, and someone keeps whistling the Purge theme outside my turret at 3 a.m. Frank raised a hand. "That was me." Karen twitched. You're on probation, Grandma. Ruth cleared her throat. Karen, dear, we didn't vote for any of this. Karen blinked. I am the vote. Ms. Patel coughed loudly. The projector blinked. The lights dimmed. And then suddenly, a slideshow of Karen's own rule violations popped up. Violations I'd collected and anonymously forwarded to the city code office. Unapproved structure, turret. Unauthorized signage, improper use of common property, checkpoint cones. Slapping a child, Karen stared at the screen like it was a horror movie where she was both the monster and the final girl. Oh, she croaked. Junie stood behind me and whispered, Did we win? I smiled. Not yet. Baby girl. But we just lit the match. On Thursday morning, Junie asked if we were still at war. I said, Not war, baby. Just divine suburban reckoning. She nodded and went back to making a cardboard sword labeled Justice Stick. Things were heating up. Karen's turret had become less of a watchtower and more of a community eyesore. A symbol, a joke, a meme. It started with a TikTok by Ms. Patel's college-age niece. She filmed a slow zoom-in of Karen atop the inflatable turret yelling, Security violation, at a squirrel audio. Nobody's gonna know. They're gonna know. How would they know? Caption, Castle Karen in her natural habitat. Ho nightmare. Suburban Game of Thrones. Within 6 hours, it had 300K likes. Within 12, the HOA subreddit was deep into conspiracy theories about Karen's turret being an NSA hub, or a cult recruitment tool. Someone even made merch. By that evening, a code inspector from the city showed up. Now let me set the scene. Karen's in her yard, rocking her HOA sash. Yes, she has one. Yelling at the Wongs for having an off-brand inflatable snowman on display, even though it's April. She's mid-tirade when the city van pulls up. Out steps Dennis, clipboard, neon vest, the bureaucratic energy of a DMV mixed with a bored. Falcon, this man eats paperwork for breakfast and craps citations by lunch. Hello, he says flatly. I'm here about a complaint regarding an unauthorized inflatable structure and misuse of municipal zoning. Karen turns, blinks, then smiles the kind of smile that makes cats leave the room. This is a community security enhancement. We don't answer to the city. Dennis stares at her for 3 seconds too long. Ma'am, this is not a sovereign nation, she tries to argue. Cites Decorative Liberties Clause from the HOA Charter. Dennis opens his folder like he's summoning demons from hell. Violation. Violation. Double violation. Her face drops like a Windows XP crash, and just like that, the turret gets red tagged. She has 72 hours to deflate it or face a fine. That could fund an entire Little League team. The turret, still waving slightly in the wind like a deflated ego. Karen? Not taking it well. Karen goes to church on Sunday. Karen does what all truly unhinged HOA villains do in times of crisis. She drags her disaster to God, not because she's religious, because she wants moral high ground. She shows up at Oak Valley, community church in a neck brace, handing out flyers titled, Mothers for Order, Protect Our Streets. She corners Pastor Phil after service with a speech about decaying values and rogue chalk art. Phil nods politely, probably praying for a meteor. Later that day, Grandma Ruth finds the flyer tucked under her windshield wiper and mutters, Oh hell no. Cue Ruth rallying the unofficial Oak Valley Underground, a loose coalition of garden club rebels, bingo hustlers, and retired teachers with no patience for nonsense. They meet in Ruth's living room. There are cookies. There is cider. There is organized suburban insurrection. Their goal, HOA recall vote. And I swear it was the most polite rebellion I've ever seen. Petitions got signed on doilies. Ruth hand-delivered signature sheets in casserole dishes. Ms. Patel ran ops through an encrypted group chat called Hawk Free the Yards. By midweek, 68% of residents had signed. All legal, all valid. Karen tried to challenge it, but the bylaws were clear. Any president found in violation of 3 or more city ordinances while in office may be subject to emergency recall via majority vote. Thanks to Dennis's clipboard apocalypse, Karen had 5 violations and counting, but Karen doesn't go down easy on. Thursday night, she holds an emergency HOA revival in her garage. Lights, microphone, smoke machine. Yes, really. She gives a speech straight out of a 3rd-grade class election. My fellow neighbors, this isn't just about rules. It's about values, about clean gutters and neutral paint swatches. Do you want this neighborhood to turn into Portland? Someone in the crowd coughs. Yes, she doesn't flinch. She gestures to a new sign on her lawn. Property under citizen supervision. Trespassers will be educated. Educated? The projector flickers to life again. Only this. Time. It's not Karen's slideshow. It's footage from my ring cam. Karen slapping Junie. Karen screaming at a squirrel. Karen yelling at the mailman for walking with intent. She freezes. Someone, okay me, uploaded it to YouTube with the title, Karen Gets Schooled by an 8-year-old and the City Code Office. It hits 1.3 million views by morning. Junie's victory. When Junie walks to the mailbox that Friday, she's wearing sunglasses, a hoodie that says Watchtower this, and her frog slippers. Karen's not outside. The turret? Deflated, dismembered, rolled up in shame next to the garbage bins. There's a new note on our door, handwritten. I didn't know she was autistic. I didn't mean to upset anyone. I'm stepping down as HOA president. Karen, Junie reads, and then shrugs, then whispers, Justice Stick worked. I give her a high five and say, want to celebrate? She nods. Can we chalk a dragon eating her turret? Absolutely. And we do. Biggest damn dragon you've ever seen. By all accounts, Karen should have taken the L, packed up her neck brace, and joined a Facebook group for disgraced HOA tyrants. Maybe started a pyramid scheme, maybe journaled, something quiet. But nope. This is Karen, and Karen does not go down quietly. Return of the Queen of Petty. We thought we were free. For a glorious 72 hours, the neighborhood was chill. Kids played hopscotch. Grandma Ruth passed out lemon bars like she was running. For mayor. Even Frank wore a shirt. Then, 3:17 a.m. Monday morning, it began. Boom! My house shook like we were under siege. I grabbed my badge and my bat and ran to the front yard in pajama pants and dad rage. There it was, a 20-foot inflatable Karen head, wearing a tiara, spinning, glowing, saying HOA forever every 30 seconds in a robot voice. She'd hired a party rental company to install it on her lawn at 3 in the damn morning. Underneath it, a new sign. Karen's Comeback Tour Kai. Celebration of Order. HOA info booth open daily. The booth? A card table covered in laminated bylaws and sugar-free mints. I stared at it like it was a hallucination brought on by stress and expired milk. Junie shuffled out behind me, rubbing her eyes. Are we being invaded? Worse, I said. She's back on her nonsense. HOA. The unauthorized sequel turns out Karen found a loophole. While she stepped down as HOA president, she was technically allowed to serve as acting advisory chairperson for up to 30 days during transition turbulence. Who wrote this clause? Karen, probably. She started issuing community suggestions instead of violations. But let's be real. Same harassment, different envelope. Some examples. Mr. Alvarez received a polite note recommending that his garden gnomes explore more modest lifestyles. The Wongs got a paper labeled Mindful Observation Encouraged because their cat looked judgmental. Frank was told his flag was waving too aggressively. Frank responded by installing a second flag. This one said, Karen's rules are like her cookies, dry and uninvited. The HOA meeting to end. All HOA meetings, it all came to a head at the HOA transition meeting held at the community center. Karen showed up in a pantsuit, holding a binder the size of a baby elephant and a microphone that no one gave her. We had Ruth. As interim chair me, as unofficial, keep Karen from going full Joker security M's. Patel live tweeting under Suburban Spite It started civil, cookies, coffee, a slideshow titled A New Path Forward. Karen sat in the front row, blinking like a hostage. Then she stood up, ignored the mic protocols, and hijacked the floor like she was running for president of Planet Control Freak. I would just like to say that order is not the enemy. Without me, your mailboxes will turn pink, your grass will get feelings, your dogs will unionize. Ruth sipped her tea. Karen, sit down. But she didn't. She climbed on a chair, pulled out a Bluetooth speaker, hit play. You can't always get what you want. The whole room froze. Karen began swaying like a prophet at Coachella. But if you try sometimes, you'll find you get what you need. Then the inflatable Karen head, yes, she brought it inside, started inflating in the corner. She'd hidden a generator behind the donut table. Gasps. Chaos. One kid screamed. Frank stood up, walked over, and calmly stabbed it with a fork. The head deflated like Karen's dignity. Karen just stood there, motionless, surrounded. by sparkly bylaws and donut crumbs, and whispered, "Y'all don't deserve me." Aftermath, suburban fallout. The next morning, Karen's house had a "for sale by owner" sign. Underneath it, in Sharpie, "strict application process, no rule breakers." But the real kicker? A week later, we saw her on a viral TikTok, now living in Heritage Oaks, a neighborhood so strict they fine you for non-regulation Christmas lights. The caption? "I moved to a real HOA. This one has dignity." Empire State of Mind plays in the background. Poetic justice. Junie and I walked to the mailbox later that day. There was a new chalk dragon. This one had a tiny inflatable Karen in its mouth. Junie looked up at me, dead serious. "Should we build a turret now?" I smiled. "Nope." Then I pulled out the blueprints for the bounce castle of peace TM. Why? Because if Karen's watching from TikTok, I want her to know we won, and it's going to be glorious. You know how every ridiculous saga reaches a point where even the most absurd characters start dragging lawyers into it? Yeah, we hit that stage. And honestly, it was the best episode of suburban scandal theater yet. The subpoena in the sprinklers, it started when Karen tried to sue the HOA, yes, the HOA that she once ran. The HOA she tried to stage a musical comeback inside. The same HOA whose bylaws she wrote in Comic Sans back in 2017. She claimed emotional damages, reputation sabotage, and, I kid you not, unconstitutional chalk terrorism. She even stapled a blurry screenshot of Junie's chalk dragon to the paperwork. The city was not amused. Instead of her case getting fast-tracked, it triggered an official code enforcement review, a process normally reserved for shady landlords and illegal goat farms. So now we were being summoned as witnesses. The trial, held in the Oak Valley Civic Center multi-purpose room. You know, the one that smells like pickles and lost dreams. Law and Order, special grassy unit court day looked like a PTA meeting got into a fight with a Judge Judy episode. Karen showed up in a power blazer, wheeling a suitcase labeled evidence, which mostly contained HOA newsletters and screenshots of neighborhood Facebook posts. She acted like she was on Suits, but with the energy of a haunted PTA mom. The judge? Municipal Hearing Officer Mr. Jameson, a man with the patience of a saint and the dead eyes of someone who's seen too many yard gnome disputes. He opened with, "Let's remember, this is a zoning and HOA compliance hearing, not the people's court." Karen immediately objected to the tone. It was beautiful. The witness list from Hell Exhibit. Ms. Patel took the stand, the folding chair, and read aloud a list of things Karen fined her for. It included excessively decorative wind chimes, unapproved stepping stones, too friendly, Halloween Ghost Exhibit B. Grandma Ruth provided time-stamped notes of Karen yelling at squirrels, which she called evidence of leadership instability, Exhibit C. Junie testified via video, holding her justice stick, and explained that dragons eat bad rules. The crowd, yes, there was a crowd, applauded. Karen stood up to object. Jameson sighed. "Sit down, ma'am. You're not at a pep rally." Karen's surprise witness Karen, sweating, rolled out her ace, her new HOA president from Heritage Oaks, a woman named Marcia, with a bun so tight it had a restraining order against Joy. Marcia stepped up, cleared her throat, and began a slow, ominous monologue. "In Heritage Oaks, we value structure, surveillance, and spiritual uniformity in lawn aesthetics. Karen has become an inspiration to our board. She has spearheaded over 47 citations in her first week." The room was silent. Then Jameson said, "Wait, she's being investigated there too." Karen's smile cracked like old patio paint. Turns out, Marcia was testifying to get ahead of a scandal, not support her. Karen's own star witness had flipped, like a gas station pancake. Verdict: suburban smackdown in the end. The judge ruled Karen had violated 6 separate city codes. She had misused HOA funds. Seriously, who charges $342.99 to the community budget for decorative surveillance hat? She had harassed residents under the guise of bylaws. Penalty: banned from holding any HOA-related title in Oak Valley for life. Fined $2,000, required to take a civic leadership and de-escalation course, which we're 99% sure is just anger management at the Y. As we left the building, Junie whispered, "Is that what justice smells like?" I sniffed. Kind of like folding chairs and burnt coffee, but yes, absolutely. The TikTok aftermath. The court footage leaked online. Karen yelling, "This is an illegal lawn tribunal." Frank saying, You're a lawn dictator with a glue gun. Junie holding up her justice stick like it's Excalibur. 4 million views. New merch. I survived HOA court. Trending hashtag Karen v. the people. Even The Onion wrote a headline. Local HOA tyrant loses power, declares sovereignty over inflatable lawn decor. There's a difference between justice and revenge. Justice is quiet, legal, sanitized. Revenge? Oh, revenge is a symphony of petty. In our neighborhood, we were the damn orchestra. The packing begins after the HOA court loss. Karen put her house up for sale with a description that read like a hostage letter. Charming colonial home nestled in a once proud community. Ideal for rule followers. Comes with new surveillance system and emotional baggage. For 2 weeks, she skulked around, in a visor and giant sunglasses, flinching every time someone walked a dog or pushed a stroller. She claimed she was being targeted by lawn anarchists. No one corrected her. The inflatable Karen head? Still dead. Frank strung it from his tree like a piñata of shame. Junie drew an angel, giving it a thumbs up. Operation Farewell Festival Ruth. Called it a neighborhood block party. We called it Karen's Going Away Gala of Glorious Passive Aggression. Officially, a celebration of community spirit. Unofficially, the pettiest goodbye in HOA history, TM. Flyers went out. Balloons were ordered. Ms. Patel brought cupcakes with tiny edible bylaws on top. Karen wasn't invited. She came anyway, in a visor, with her new boyfriend, some guy who runs a pressure washing empire and calls himself Cletus the Cleanser. She strutted in like we'd roll out a red carpet. We rolled out a welcome mat that said, "Bless this mess that you caused." The roast of Karen, unintentionally. As part of the Community Talent Hour, Junie did a dramatic reading titled, When the Rules Ruled Too Hard, a Cautionary Tale. Ruth performed a spoken word piece called Ode to the Bylaw Burn Book. And then Ms. Patel brought out a special guest, a giant lawn cake, shaped like Karen's old turret, frosting windows, sugar fondant binoculars, a tiny fondant Karen peeking out the top, eyes wide, clutching a citation. We all sang Good Riddance, Time of Your Life by Green Day, but off-key and way too fast. Karen? Fuming. Cletus the Cleanser? Filming. The final petty straw. At the height of the event, the kids wheeled out a cardboard tank labeled Justice Squad Mobile. It rolled up to Karen's mailbox. A single envelope dropped into it. Karen stomped over, opened it, and read, Official Oak Valley Neighborhood Survey. How would you rate your experience with HOA leadership? Mildly traumatizing. Lawful evil. I now fear clipboards. Please circle all that apply. She screamed, a solid, echoing villain falling off a cliff scream. Then she turned to Cletus and shrieked, They've been gaslighting me with chalk and desserts. Which, to be fair, was mostly true. Karen's departure parade. The next morning, her moving truck pulled out of the driveway. We waved. Ruth held a sign. May your next HOA be ever in your favor. Junie saluted with the justice stick. Goodbye, Chaos Goblin. And Frank blasted, hit the road jack from his porch speakers while pressure washing absolutely nothing but the air. As she left, we saw her furiously typing into her phone, probably writing a review on a site that only HOA presidents use to warn each other about communities with personality. Epilogue. 6 months later, Karen moved into Heritage Oaks, a neighborhood so strict, rumor has it, they issue warnings for birds singing off-key. She lasted 29 days before their board suspended her for excessive zealotry and unsolicited bylaws. Junie's new chalk mural stretches down the entire sidewalk. A dragon wearing sunglasses, sitting on a throne made of Karen's citations. The HOA? Under Ruth's rule now. Sensible, democratic, sassy when needed. And me? I finally built the treehouse Junie wanted. It has a flag that says, Rules are just aggressive suggestions. Final words people think suburbia is boring. They think it's all lawns and leashes and mailboxes and mulch. But they've never lived through a turf war over mailbox paint. They've never seen an inflatable turret fall to city code. They've never witnessed a community rise up with casseroles and passive aggression and chalk warfare. Karen slapped the wrong kid. And I'm the chief of police. You don't come for my daughter. You don't come for my lawn. And you sure as hell don't come for a community that's mastered the art of legal pettiness. Justice isn't always loud, but sometimes It's shaped like a dragon, drawn in chalk, with a tiny HOA queen being roasted inside. With Karen gone, a weird silence settled over Oak Valley. Not the kind that meant something was wrong, but the kind of quiet that tastes like victory. Like when your in-laws finally leave and you find a leftover cheesecake in the fridge. Peaceful, earned, a little suspicious. But soon, the silence filled with something else. Laughter, music, chalk. We'd all been so caught up in her tornado of bylaws and nonsense that we forgot what community felt like. The real kind. Not the community Karen pushed, which was just repression with landscaping tips. People came outside more. Junie started selling justice sticks for $1 apiece at her sidewalk stand. Each one came with a free sticker that said, HOA this. She sold out in 2 days. The neighborhood that roared with Karen gone, Oak Valley bloomed, not just in plants, but in personality. Frank painted his garage door into an American flag, holding a beer. The Wongs put up a 12-foot inflatable unicorn that lights up and sings Sweet Caroline when the wind hits just right. Ms. Patel installed wind chimes that sound like theme music from old westerns. When you walk by her place, it feels like you're entering a standoff at high noon, except she's holding lemon bars instead of a revolver. Even Grandma Ruth went rogue. She replaced her perfect topiary shrubs with flamingo statues, each one wearing little sunglasses and sipping fake cocktails. She called them her flamboyant frontline. Karen would have fined all of us into the Stone Age. Now, we just laugh. The Karen Memorial Bench, okay. Technically, it's not a memorial. It's a bench. A very tasteful bench installed in the community park, facing the pond, engraved with the words, she came, she cited, she got smoked. In loving memory of our sanity, Ruth made sure the city signed off on it. Everything legal. Nothing Karen could appeal from afar. At sunset, neighbors gather there, to sit, to drink iced tea. To laugh about that time, Karen tried to arrest a lawn flamingo for public indecency that one final letter about. 2 weeks after she moved. Out, I got a letter. Handwritten. Lavender envelope. Karen's handwriting. My first instinct? Toss it in the fire pit. My second? Read it in the bathroom with popcorn. It started like this. To the so-called chief, I hope you enjoy your little victory. You may think you've won by turning my effort to bring order into some community-wide mockery, but history will vindicate me. Perhaps not here, but somewhere. Also, your daughter's dragon was proportionally inaccurate and had a lazy wing. Sincerely, Karen L. Witherspoon, still a member of the National HOA Board Alliance. I showed it to Junie. She read it silently, then pulled out chalk and drew a new dragon with a single wing, holding a scroll labeled Karen's Tears. She titled it, The Pettiest Phoenix. Closure comes in chalk 1. Saturday evening, Junie and I sat outside with popsicles, staring at her newest sidewalk masterpiece. This one was a mural of the neighborhood. Every house, every weirdo, every tiny act of rebellion. Frank's flags, Ruth's flamingos, Patel's wind chimes, even a tiny inflatable turret with an X through it. She added a dragon curled up under our treehouse, smiling. Think she'll ever come back? Junie asked. I took a long sip of my Coke and shook my head. She might try, I said. But this time we know how to fight. Lawn citations and all? No, I said. We fight with cake, with sidewalk chalk, with flamingos in combat poses. She grinned. We high-fived. And that night she slept soundly for the first time in months. The real victory. The win wasn't that Karen left. It wasn't the viral video or the court case or the merchandise sales from Junie's Justice Stick starter kits. It was something smaller, sneakier. It was in how neighbors began waving again, how people knocked on each other's doors just to say hello, how kids stopped being afraid of walking past that lady's house. It was the quiet that followed the chaos, the peace that Karen's noise had kept from taking root. She thought she was the queen of order, but all she really did was build a kingdom that was waiting to rebel. And when we did, we didn't just win. We remembered who we were. Final scene. Foreshadow? Maybe 6 months later, Junie got a letter in the mail. No return address. Glitter tape. Faint scent of desperation. Inside, a brochure. Join us at Heritage Oaks, where rules are respected and fun is contained. Junie looked up at me, then straight, into the camera that didn't exist, like she was on The Office. She rolled her eyes and said, "She's trying to recruit us." I lit the grill. Frank cracked a beer. Junie got her chalk, and we lived happily, rebelliously, ever after.